Simms.
Thank you, Mr President. I rise on behalf of the Greens to speak on this condolence motion, and in so doing I'd like to begin by extending our condolences to Steele Hall's wife Joan, his 6 children and 6 grandchildren. Raymond Steele Hall is a significant figure in the history of South Australian politics. His government's achievements were significant, and other members have reflected on those, but I do just want to talk a little bit about the significance of electoral reform to our state. Premier Hall recognised the long-standing inequalities in the South Australian electoral system, colloquially known at that time as the Playmander, which was an electoral malapportionment which favoured rural areas over the city. It was one of the bravest political moves that our state has ever seen. Premier Hall introduced legislation to reform the House of Assembly to provide a more equitable system of representation, and he did so knowing that it would be detrimental to himself and his own party. And surely, Mr President, that is the great test of political leadership, that we take actions that benefit not just ourselves politically, but are actually about the whole community. And I think that was one of the trademarks of Premier Hall. The esteemed political scientist, the late Professor Dean Jench, AO, characterised the Playmander, named after Hall's predecessor, Sir Thomas Playford, as the best gerrymander the world has ever seen. Years later, Mr Hall told the Advertiser, and I quote, "There were some strong Labor seats with 40,000 voters and some Liberal seats with 5,000 voters. It was totally undemocratic, totally wrong. We could not continue with the boundaries the way they were. These were changes we made in the electoral boundaries. They were immense. We knew that we were sacrificing government and the following election, but it had to be done." In addition to electoral reform, Premier Hall introduced improvements in social welfare, Aboriginal rights and abortion. He also began the process of adding fluoride to our water here in South Australia in 1968. Steele Hall's parliamentary career spanned 3 decades. As has been observed, he served as Premier of our state, but also led 2 political parties, one of which he founded, and he served as a member of the South Australian House of Assembly, the Federal House of Representatives and the Senate. Significant achievement, a significant career. Indeed, he is the only Australian to have served as a Premier of a state, as well as a member of 3 legislatures. During the 1975 Australian constitutional crisis, as a Liberal movement senator, though he was opposed to the Whitlam government, he joined with the Labor Party and an independent senator at that time, Cleaver Bunton, in voting against the deferral of supply bills, a significant moment in our state's history. And again, Mr Hall showed the leadership that the time called for in terms of exercising and voting in favour of his conscience. In August 1988, as the Liberal member for Boothby, after the then opposition leader John Howard expressed his wish to control Asian immigration, Steele Hall, along with Ian McPhee and Philip Ruddock at the time, dissented by crossing the floor of Parliament and voting with the Labor government on a motion against the use of race as a criterion for selecting immigrants. When he addressed the Parliament at that time, Mr Hall said, "This question has quickly descended from a discussion about the future migrant intake to one about the level of internal racial tolerance. The simple fact is that public opinion is easily led on race issues. It is now time to unite the community on the race issue before it flares into an ugly reproach for us all." And again, an example of the leadership of this man in terms of speaking out and speaking out in favour of his conscience and doing what he considered to be right. He leaves behind a reputation for integrity and political courage, and someone who has truly put his state ahead of party political interests. And so we, on the Greens side of politics, do express sadness at his passing and convey also our thoughts to our Liberal colleagues, many of whom I know knew Steele Hall and his family.